Welcome back to Ferox Frank Reviews. Today, we're going to look at a comedy film. That looks like it may have been something else as it first started, but after Happy Madison got their hands on it, they made it into a comedy film. This feels like it should have been just a straight up drama film, but hey, fuck it. Today's film, Here Comes the Boom, starring Kevin James. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Yes, this is the cut my finger a few days ago. Hedge clipper accident. That guy was wearing heavy gloves, or else, yeah. And thankfully, I wasn't using the chainsaw at the time. Also, I wouldn't be here, or have a finger at least. Yeah. Anyways, the movie basically stars Kevin James as Scott Voss, who is a biology teacher and was a Division One wrestler in college 20 years ago, of course. And of course, his best friend is Henry Winkler, amongst all things, who's a man named Marty, and his crush is played by Salma Hayek. Yeah, yeah, Miss Flores is played by Salma Hayek. Though to be fair, this is a much more believable role than her role as the fucking taco from Sausage Party, which she plays in a lesbian taco. Yeah, I bet you all forgot about that one. I sure as hell did. I never watched that film again. No. Joe, hell, Joe made the mistake of watching it, and now he's traumatized. Yep, he's gonna be out for a while. And Rex, yeah, he's sick at the moment, so he may not be back for like maybe the rest of the month. Yeah, so if you're expecting a new game video, it's gonna be a while because Rex is not feeling too well. So it's just gonna be me in this movie. Oh joy! Now the movie is basically all about well, Scott actually trying to raise money, but where's it coming from exactly? Where did this whole thing come from? Well, allow me to explain. As you can plainly see, the story starts off like this. Scott is kind of a lazy teacher at this moment because he's trying to play off as a passive cool guy who doesn't really give a shit anymore. And he's a biology teacher. And of course the principal doesn't really like him too much. Until he decides to check on his buddy Marty, and he gets some incredible news. And he's actually really old. His wife is in her late 40s. She's 48 and she's pregnant. It's like, Scott, what are the odd chances? He goes, Scott, what are the odd chances that a woman that's 48 can get pregnant? Depends on the woman. Actually, you'd be surprised how. I mean, come on. I mean, you actually be surprised. Wrong. Here's a bit of a fun fact. A woman who's actually in really good health can actually give birth well into her early 60s. Yeah, I really wish I was making that part up, but yeah, I looked into this. It's actually a real thing. A woman who's actually in really good health and has kept their body healthy for many years can actually have kids well into her early 60s. That's insane. Wow. Okay. Moving on. Anyway, there's a huge staff meeting, and of course, Miss Flores is there, and Scott tries to hit on her. She turns him down many, many times. He's being like passive, like, "Oh, come on, babe, you know you want some, yeah." I'm lazy. I'm the lazy guy. I'm played by Kevin James. I'm the lazy guy. And it turns out they lost a lot of money. Yeah, the main principal, and there's also the vice principal, whose name is Elkins, by the way. They all come to the conclusion. They say that yeah, it turns out the school's been losing a massive amount of money for the last decade or so. They have no idea why the hell that's been happening. So they decided to cut many extracurricular activities, including Marty's job, and he's the music director. Yeah, and Scott's not exactly happy about this, so he gets into an argument back and forth a little bit, though. And there's actually his best, and one of his friends, who's one of the teachers, is like, "Really?" And the argument keeps going back and forth. He still moves over a bit. What the fuck, bro? Seriously? Okay, now you're at the wall. Where are you gonna go? Really? You're gonna go down to the next row, okay? Uh, uh, now you're going down to the other row. For God's sake, the entrance is back over there, dumbass. Unbelievable. Seriously. So, Marty and Scott actually try to get an entire staff meeting together to see how they can come up with close to $48,000. So that's how much they need. And plus, keep this in mind, this was way back in 2012 when this happened. So yeah, 10 years ago. So what now? This has happened. So, nobody actually shows up to the meeting yet, except for Miss Flores and Scott. They're the only ones who showed up. And of course, Scott has no. Anyway, Scott, if you don't, well, of course, Scott's trying to stay on her a little bit again, and he does like, I got it. If I make this shot, you'll go out with me. All right, fine. Hey, what the hell are you doing? He brings out one of those stupid little bouncy things that the freaking mascots use, and he goes for the shot, and by that much he missed, lands flat on his face. Oh, you bumbling idiots. Oh, we love you so much, you bumbling idiot. So he goes to see his brother, who actually is a painter, and he asks him if he can actually start working for him. And it turns out business is not doing too well. Yep, and he's more focused on actually doing watching cooking shows, cooking, and watching and just being a lazy father. Lovely. So his brother tells him to take the citizenship class again, and teach citizenship class. Oh, that's great. And of course, he does the citizenship class at night, and okay, and it's really not going too well. Yeah, he gets his first paycheck. It's like, yeah, he's only been teaching like what for almost a week now, and it's 130. It's $132. Yeah. Okay. First off, this movie takes place in Boston, right? I'm pretty sure that could be close to maybe a couple of $100, maybe even up to $300 a paycheck. Not 100. That's fucking weak, man. I mean, wow, that's fucking terrible. But anyway, one of the citizens actually is who's played by El Wapo himself, Boss Runen, named Nico. Right here, this guy. He asks the boss if he can actually give him some tutoring lessons, and of course, the boss is like, "Okay, fine, let's just do it." So he goes straight to his place, Nico's place, and they're watching a UFC event. Yeah, you can see where this is going, right? So yeah, he and his buddies actually make a couple of bets on the fight, and he watches a fighter by the name of uh, Derek. Fuck, what was his name? Shit. This one fighter called Ken Dietrich, the Executioner, who's played by a real life MMA fighter. I should mention there's a lot of UFC fighters in this movie too. They just change their names over time too. So yeah. Anyway, he's watching the fight and he's actually making some comment, and he notices that Nico used to be a fighter too, and he doesn't. And of course, that was a long time ago. And now he teaches MMA at a gym. Great. And as they're watching the fight, he's making comments like, "Oh, come on, the guy should just double leg him." Oh, you know a little bit. Oh, you know how to fight too. I used to wrestle back in college. Oh, that's good. Wrestlers make really good fighters. Oh, I can see that. Oh, yeah, I called it. And Dietrich actually wins the fight. And while the guys are commenting that the loser takes his 10 grand and ran away like a shitload pony. Wait, the guy got 10 grand? Yeah, he got 10 grand. He got 10 grand from losing a fight. Yeah. He lost a fight, though. How did he get 10 grand? Yeah, 10 grand, but it would have been 50 if he won. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. So, Scott decides to actually go into mixed martial arts, and he tells Marty about the idea. Marty thinks it's completely crazy, and eventually he agrees that he should probably do it too. Now he does his last citizenship class. And he tells everybody he does his last class, but he tells everybody. But he does the entire class. After class, he tells Nico he needs his help to he can actually help him train with mixed martial arts or get into fights or something. Nico thinks the whole thing is crazy. He goes, "All right, fine. I'll get you a fight this weekend. All right. Wait, what? I haven't trained. Hey, I'm tossing you in the deep end here. Yeah, yeah. He's being a kind of an ass at this point. Oy. Hmm. So yeah, Scott. So like the next day, Scott and like Marty do a little bit of training, and yeah, Scott says, I'm just gonna take him to I'm just gonna use my wrestling and take him to the ground. Yeah, and so they go to into an old abandoned building where there's an actual event, and it's basically what we call a bottom level MMA event. He shows up like a pro wrestler. He goes like, yeah, and into the face, he's out. Were you expecting anything else? No, seriously. I mean, he does like this whole huge spiel of doing a big grand entrance to the song "Here Comes the Boom" by POD, and yeah, it's so stupid. But it's just like him just going yeah with a crazy costume and everything, like a whole pro wrestling. And the second the bell rings, he tries to tackle the guy, except he gets knee to the face, and that's it. Barely made it out of the first round. Barely even the last 2 seconds. Oh, and he leaves with a thumbs up, like, and the next match, it's at the docks, and well, it starts raining. It's actually on the outside at the pier, and it rains all over the place. And it's basically at this point, the third round. It's like, okay, they're not even grappling; they're just swimming at this point in the middle of the octagon. It's ridiculous. But there is some confusion though during the fight. Like everybody's looking at Marty's like, Marty, where's the stool? I am so confused right now. We didn't need what stool? The stool I'm supposed to sit on exactly. We didn't have a stool in the last fight. Yeah, because I barely made it out of the first round the last fight. uh, anyway, Nurse Flores and everybody else thinks he's completely crazy about doing this though. But and he thought about maybe turning down the job, turning down everything because it's the whole thing is just nuts. But he realized he goes to Marty's house to tell his wife that, but to tell Marty, but he actually went out to do a tutoring session with some student, and he decides, you know what? No, I'm saying that I'm just going to keep doing this for Marty. Yeah, for my buddy. Okay. So yeah, the next fight, they're on their way to the next fight, and there's a bit of a confusion with. There's like a whole problem with like Scott. He needs to eat something. He's like, okay, Nico, name the 3 things. Okay, I will name them. Yo, Scott, you gotta eat something real quick. You gotta get there. Oh, right. You got my oatmeal back there? I don't see the oatmeal here. It's like, hey, Mark, where's this oatmeal? Huh. It's like, oh yeah, I have it. It's in my desk actually. What the hell, Marty? No, wait, Nico, there's some applesauce I made in the back over there. You see it? Red top container? Yeah. There you go. Oh, thank you. It's got cinnamon in this. You made this? Yeah. Okay. So on their way in, they actually get ready for the next fight, and apparently his opponent actually had the same song as he did, so they had to switch it out. He comes to a romance ballad song, which is kind of stupid, trying to go like, yeah, yeah. It's like, dude, just play the same damn song. Who the fuck cares at this point? So yeah, he continued. So yeah, so by his third fight, out of sheer move for desperation, he knocks the guy out. Yeah, literally, he just goes. He's like, defense, defense, defense. Ah! Overhand, overhand, right to the face, knocks the guy out completely. So yeah, he finally won his first fight, and he pukes on him because of the applesauce. Yeah. So on the ride home, they're like, okay, I got one question. Aside from who here who's not Amish makes their own applesauce? Mistakes were made. Yes. What? We won. We won. So yeah. So anyway, Nico was trying to train Scott at his own gym, which is basically like He teaches MMA at a local gym, which is basically like a little aerobics class. So he teaches him at like the real deal here and there. But okay, his grappling is getting better a little bit, but he needs to work on his striking. So where's he going for striking? Sit Yo Tong's Muay Thai gym. It's Boston. I mean, come on, that's like one of the most famous gyms in Boston. That's MMA oriented. And if you play, and of course, if you play the UFC Undisputed series from Xbox or PlayStation 3 from back in the day, you know for a fact that's actually one of the top Muay Thai gyms in the country. So yeah, the main Muay Thai teacher, it's actually gonna test him out. He has like two guys go up against fight up against him, tosses in a third guy, and yeah, he gets his butt kicked, but he doesn't back down. And he's like, he takes punishment. He learns pretty quickly. Okay, I can teach him. Awesome. So with the intense training, Scott actually starts winning more fights, and he starts making more trips to Elkins, and I actually giving him deposits for more and more money, making tons more money in. And Miss Flores actually helps too by seeing Scott to giving him medical attention. Yeah, because he can't go to a hospital because it charges way too much for his winnings for the actual fight. So yeah, so and of course, they start to become more and more closer and closer. There's even this one time she actually popped this, like he actually popped his shoulder out of the socket, so she popped it back in. And well, it's Selma Hayek, you know her. She gets a little crazy when she does crazy shit like this. Yeah. Mm. So going back and forth, and there's also a problem with this one other team called. He's also having problems with a one student called Malia. I'm pretty sure that's her name. I'm just gonna call her Mia at this point because I can't pronounce her actual name properly. Maybe because I have a little bit of a problem with starting to say it. Malia. Okay, there we go, Malia. So, so Malia is actually his top student, and she's also an aspiring singer. Good to know. Anyways, Malia has a bit of a problem. Her father wants to take her out of school to actually help her with the restaurant business. So, and at some point, and of course, Scott told her to tell her dad that he won't let her. Right. And of course, Scott gets in trouble about that. And it turns out her father comes in to talk to him about the whole thing. And of course, Scott goes off on him about doing this whole thing because he made a mistake telling her that he should give up and everything. But he tells him that it was a huge mistake that he said that. So they go back and forth a little bit though, until the father says, "Okay, you're right. What I'm doing is bad, but what am I supposed to do exactly? I mean, my fucking cook quit on me, so I gotta be back there. I need somebody up front. I mean, I don't know what the hell to do." So Scott tells him like it's his problem and not his daughter's problem. It's like kind of an asinine thing to say, but also true. But also true. Anyways, so what does Scott do? He continues on training, and he needs to help Nico a bit more. So he actually brings Malia along to actually help with with Nico's homework on the whole on the citizenship test. And she comes up with an idea. Maybe he should actually try singing the ballads. She should try singing the answers or something. And of course, it actually works. Yeah, we got a huge montage of him actually winning fights, losing one or two fights, but winning a lot more fights. And he's winning fights against actual famous MMA fighters. One of which happens to be Chael Sonnen, who's like, "I didn't tap out. What was you doing? I didn't tap out. I was fooling around. I was fooling around." Shut the fuck up, Chael. I mean, come on, dude. You got bitch slapped by fucking Sylvester Stallone in the box in Grudge match, you dickhead. Yeah, he's a bit of a talker. So yeah, and of course Scott decides to do something for his brother. So he eventually does something for his brother. But before that, he actually does something else. He actually gets more involved with the kids, being like his old self again. And of course, Miss Flores sees that he's starting to act more like himself, and he gets the course to actually ask her out one last time, and she finally agrees to it though. And his brother actually goes to his house to actually cook a meal. They actually have a date where it gets a little out of hand, but it kind of confirms that they do really like each other. Yeah, right. So the next day, Scott goes to his brother and goes, "I got something for you. All right, come on. How's the job going? Not too good, man. Not too good. All right, I got an idea. And what is that? Well, it turns out his brother's actually a really good cook, so he decides Malia's father needs a cook, so there you go. Yeah, kill two birds with one stone. Am I right? So yeah, now Scott's brother is actually working for Malia's father as a cook, but he's making him more money than a painter. That really helps. That really helps. Anyway, the fights get more. Anyway, Scott's fights get more and more better, and he actually gets the attention of of Dana White in the UFC, and of course Joe Rogan is actually there with Vanderlei Silva watching one of his fights. This is a little funny because in real life, while Joe Rogan, back when Kevin James and Joe Rogan were starting off in comedy, they were roommates together. I'm not joking about that. I mean, if you ever watched Joe Rogan's podcast, he explains everything about that whole thing. That him and Kevin James used to be roommates, and they watched UFC all the time back in the day. So yeah, and Kevin James is a huge UFC fan. So doing this is like a huge dream project for him. And give Kevin James some credit. He's actually doing most of the stunts himself. So give him credit. Yeah. So anyway, the Muay Thai coach comes to see Scott, tells him that he got an offer for the UFC, but Nico turned it down. It's like, what? Why? So he goes to see Nico, and Nico fully kind of breaks down, and he tells him exactly why he denied the contract. It's basically because he actually it's because he got offered the fight for the UFC a long time ago, but he decided to go through intense training, just pure intense training, and he destroyed his neck in the process. Yeah, and his career just went down the crap, and his career went down the toilet after that. Yep. Eventually, Nico comes around and actually decides to do this for Scott. Great. So they meet with Joe Rogan. They sign up the contract for the UFC. And how much money do they need now for the whole school? Well, they're just down to a few. All they need now is just about maybe what $6,000, and they're all good. Yeah, they made a lot of money, so they need just what $6,000. So if he loses the fight, that's all. That's all good. If I lose the fight, whoop de doo. Who's the fight with? Kevin. Oh, Ken Dietrich, the executioner. Oh shit, that guy's is a lethal fighter. I'm screwed. So yeah, they get so yeah. Scott okay, so Scott Nico, the Muay Thai teacher, and Marty head straight to Las Vegas where they actually make weight where Scott makes weight and they actually decide to eat and they have a bit of a food fight, but Scott actually leaves before the food fight actually commences. Or I should say gets out of hand. They're just grown men and they just like, okay, let's just be more mature. and so Miss Flores actually calls Scott up, and yeah, this is some really harsh news. But it turns out that Elkins got arrested for embezzling the money. Yeah, it turns out that he was the reason why the school lost all that money to begin with. They were down to close. They lost a lot of money for like the past decade, and it was because of Elkins embezzling all the money and all the money all the money that Scott actually won recently. He embezzled all of it too. Yeah, and he was arrested for it. Unfucking believable. Goddamn bastard. So there's actually no reason for him to actually do the fight anymore. But Scott said, "Screw this! Still got to do the fight regardless." So the fight comes, and Malia and many of the other music students actually showed up to actually start singing the song. Here comes the boom. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit interesting. It's kind of inspiring, and Miss Flores actually got them to go over there. Wow, wow, that's kind of inspiring. So what's happening back in Boston? Oh, the teachers committee, his brother's family, and his students, both his night students and his day students are going to watch the fights. Yeah, this is going to be hard to watch. So Kevin Dietrich comes in with the song "I Stand Alone" by Godsmack, and they make a couple of comments about it. Awesome. So before the fight actually starts, Scott actually looks at all the students, and he looks back and he goes back to his coaches, and he says, guys, I got one question. How much do we get if we win this thing? 50 grand. And let's win this thing. Okay. This is not going to end well. Ugh. So, Scott basically continued. So basically, Scott fights Ken Dietrich, and he gets his ass handed to him in the first round. I mean, seriously, it's like he gets his ass handed to him real badly in the first round. All right, by the time the second round comes along, it's like, okay, he does hold his own more in the second round, though. But the thing is, yeah, Ken is just too strong for him, though. But Scott is basically trying his best, but he does last longer than expected. Uh, and originally, a lot of people knew he was actually going to win. He wasn't going to win the fight. He was going to give Ken a bit of a decent fight. And he is putting up a decent fight, though. The thing is, he's a lot more hard to put down. Yeah, just fixing my shoes here. So, so by the end of the second round, Scott actually gets a little woozy from like being hit so damn hard. But the thing is, so the coaches are going back and forth trying to give him some pointers, and then Marty interrupts everybody by telling him that Scott said that Scott, you told me I'm your hero. Look at these students; they're all here because of you, and honestly, you're my hero. It's actually a pretty good speech that Henry Winkler is actually saying this. It's actually saying this whole thing right in front of him, though, and it does give Scott the actual courage he needs to finish the fight off with the Kevin Dietrich, with Dietrich. So yeah, the final fight now, him and Ken Dietrich are literally equal at this point. Yeah, they're literally just up hard equal at this point. It's like a pure back and forth fight between the two of them, though. So, and of course, Scott does actually be able to tackle him down to the ground using his wrestling. However, Ken actually puts him in an armbar, so and Scott loses the grip. But he remembers what Nico told him and gets the grip back again. And Scott pulls the most ballsiest and risky maneuver in UFC. And this is actually legal in the UFC, though. And that is this. Scott actually, while Dietrich has him in the armbar, Scott is actually on his 2 feet, and he lifts Kevin Dietrich over his head and slams him down to the ground. And the whole thing is done in slow mo. And here's a bit of a fun fact too. They wanted to use the stunt double for for Kevin James on this one, but here's a bit of a fun fact: the fighter who was playing Ken Dietrich was on the floor. It's like, oh wait, get on the floor, okay? Put me in the hole, okay? Hey guys, watch this. Yeah, like this. Should I do it like this? Yeah. Not even joking. He did the whole thing on his own. Yeah, that just proved how fucking strong Kevin James was. God damn. So yeah, because of that slam, Scott actually knocks out Kevin Dietrich, and they win the fight. And of course, it's pretty much like a decent sports montage style movie. With of course Scott and Flores actually getting together, kissing. Marty's job is saved. The music program is saved, and of course, Nico and all the other students actually pass their citizenship test. Yay! And that, my friends, was Here Comes the Boom. Is it a good movie? Is it pure crap? Is it worth watching? Actually, it's really not. Actually, joking aside, it's actually a pretty decent story. Yeah, I mean, seriously, you think of all the comedy elements and actually focus it on the actual, making it more drama based, it could actually be a pretty damn decent film. Yeah. A lot of people thought the fact that this movie was actually ripping off, the movie Warrior. But the thing is, there was also a Korean film called Fists of Legend. Not Fist, Fists. Fists. Fists of Legend. And that's a South Korean movie about three grown men coming back together in an MMA tournament after being apart for about 20 years. So, yeah, it's a weird situation, but surprisingly, that's actually a good movie too. That's actually more of a Korean knockoff version of Warrior. But Warrior was basically a film on its own rights. It was basically the Rocky in the MMA community. This is honestly not a bad film, particularly. Honestly, if you take out all the comedy stuff, you can actually rework it as a really decently good MMA film. And give Kevin James some credit. He did most of his own stunts in this movie too, like the whole MMA bits, the training and everything. Yeah, the parts where you see him training, like him hitting the speed bag and everything so fast. That's all him. That's not a stunt double or anything. That's literally all him. Yeah, not even joking about that. I really wish I was, but goddamn, not bad, not bad at all. So yeah, I do kind of recommend this movie. Well, the thing is, Joe's not going to do not going to do another A-list video for a while, not until next month, and Rex is going to be out commission until next month too, which means he's going to be doing a little bit more videos next month. Yeah, so that means I got to pick up the slack for these two guys. You know what? Next week is Thanksgiving, so you know what? I'm going to do a movie. I'm going to do a movie review next week during the weekend. And that movie review being a horror film, a horror anthology movie. Yeah, it'll still be interesting, give or take. Anyway, that's all for now. For your Frank,